Morning, folks. Sure don't take cows and burros very long to figure out what grain is. They love their grain. Little do they know the cow, little do they know the cow is getting hers to fatten her up for the freezer. The burro, she's getting hers just because she's old. She's about 30. Let's see, give them a little bit of this here. So what we're giving them is, they call it steam-rolled corn. It's not steam-rolled, but it's flattened out. Flake corn is another name for it. They do like it. So, have you ever seen that show? It's a documentary about a trapper in Siberia. It's called Happy People. If you ain't never seen it, it's worth watching if you're into outdoors stuff or trapping at all. And it's in Russian. He's got subtitles, but the guy says that trapping is more honest than ranching. He says when he goes into the woods, every animal out there knows he's up to no good. But when you raise an animal, when you raise a cow or a pig or whatever it is you're feeding, like these, they think you're their friend. They come running to the grain, they come running to the hay. You're there because you like them. You are their friend. And then one day there's a bullet waiting for them. When they say that, it does seem a little wrong. But, we just butchered 10 chickens and 5 turkeys. Got the cow here. Hillbilly raises rabbits. We used to raise rabbits. I didn't much care for that. They're a little bit too cute of a critter to do, but I don't know. The cows, it is hard not to get attached to them, and you don't want to name them anything like that. We just call this one Cow, or Cow, Cindy does, but you don't make pets out of them, that's for sure, and you want as little contact as you can with them, just to feed them and take care of any medical troubles they got and that kind of stuff. But if people, or any animal really, wasn't meant to eat, we wouldn't have to eat. We'd be like plants that just get our, water and protein and whatnot out of the ground. Sunlight and decomposed dead stuff that's in the soil. But we're not that way. We have to eat, so that's what you do. So we have always butchered our own critters, deer and elk and mountain goats, mountain lions, antelope, you name it, pretty much. Anything we've ever had a tag for, as far as wild critters go, we've always butchered ourselves. I've never done a pig, because I've been told pigs are hard to do. I don't know why they wouldn't be any different than any other thing, other than they got a lot of fat and whatnot you got to cut off. But Cindy's always told me, call Pete on the pigs. Well, Pete is our local butcher, and it's a whole lot easier to make a phone call than it is to spend a day butchering a critter, so we've always just called Pete. We have butchered a cow. That was a lot of work. Cows are big, You do one side one day and then another side another day, if you're lucky and got enough to hold enough weather to hang them for a couple of days, maybe a couple of days down the road, but it's a lot of work to do a cow. And unless you have a bone saw and that kind of thing where you can cut the bones, it's really hard to get decent cuts. We don't really, if it fits in a pan, it cooks. That's kind of the way we butcher things, and it's not, the butcher, he's got fancy cuts. He's got sirloin steaks. He's got, T-bone steaks. He's got rib steaks. He's got prime rib. He's got top round. He's got, brisket and chuck roast and all this stuff. If it fits in a pan, it ships. That's pretty much the way we butcher things, and it all tastes about the same, but we don't have the fancy cuts. We don't really know what we're doing. We just wing it, and you chunk it up, and you wrap it up, and put it in the freezer. That's about all you do. Well, this cow we did, it's been a long time ago now. We still lived out in the town of Baker. Baker, they call it a town, but our mailing address was still considered to be Salmon, even though it's 9 miles out of Salmon. And I was always told that in order to be a town, it had to have a post office. And this place didn't have a post office. It didn't have any stores at the time. It didn't have nothing. Now the Amish have moved in there, and they got an Amish store out there, but that wasn't there back when we lived there. And anyhow, that had to be, well, before 2002, because we moved to the fairgrounds in 2002. But anyhow, my buddy Jack, he had this cow that it was a yearling heifer that run headlong into the fence, and it done broke its neck. And he called me up, and he says, "You want this cow?" He says, "There ain't nothing wrong with it other than it's dead." I told him, "Well, why is it dead?" He says, "I think it broke its neck." He says, "It ran into the fence and it fell over." He says, "It ain't been grained or nothing like that, so it's it ain't going to be top quality beef," but he says it'd probably eat okay. And I thought, well, heck yeah, I'd take it. So we took it, brought it back home, and we cut it down the spine and into 2 pieces, halved it, and brought 1/2 in the house, and we got the butcher in it. And a buddy of mine, Ron, he come over. Well, that was about the time that Obama got placed into office. I don't think he was elected. He got placed in the office. That's a whole different deal. Anyway, he got into office. Cindy was kind of depressed about the whole thing, and so she brought home a gallon jug of vodka. And then she started mixing up these vodka drinks. Some of them were orange juice and whatnot, and some of them were other things. And we got the hacking and chopping on this half of a cow and cutting and wrapping and putting it in the freezer. And I tell you what, them Russians, they will sneak up on you, knock you to the ground, and stomp all over you. And Igor, if you're watching, I got nothing against Russians. It's the vodka. That's evil stuff. It's good stuff, but it's evil stuff. It knocked me down pretty doggone hard, and it stomped all over me. Everybody else thought it was funny, but it wasn't funny at all. And we ended up getting the cow cut and wrapped and put in the freezer, but I was kind of sick there for a while. So, anyway, we have done a cow. I've never done a pig. Years ago, also, when we lived out in Baker, we used to buy pigs. At the time, a weanling pig, wieners they called them, were $25 a piece. And a couple of folks we got them from Eddie Jacobs, he has since died, but Eddie's pigs, they were downright mean. You did not want to climb into the pen with Eddie's pigs without. I had a broken axe handle, and you didn't want to climb in there without that thing, because they would try to knock you down and eat you. They would hit your legs, they would bite your legs. You're whacking them with that axe handle and trying to get them away from you just so you could get over there and, flip the feeder back over or whatever it was you were getting into the pen for in the first place. They were downright mean. I did not like those pigs, but they were tasty. And we got another one, a bunch of other ones from Curtis. He's still around, so I ain't going to say his last name. But Curtis's pigs, they were just the opposite. You could get in there and do whatever you want to do. They weren't mean. They'd leave you alone, and they'd kind of stand at one corner, and you could do whatever you wanted to do, and no big deal. And I ended up making a pig pen that was on skids, and I put hog paneling. A lot of folks use it for cement and stuff. It's pretty heavy wire, about as big around as a pencil. It's made into a grid, and they call it hog paneling. I'm not really sure what they use it for, but I put that on the bottom of the pen, and then it was on railroad ties, and had a chain hooked to it, and it had, it wasn't chicken wire, but it was like net wire fencing cage around the outside, and I had a piece of plywood put in the back of the end of the thing for the pigs to stand on. Well, the first time I went to move that, I hooked onto it with a chain. When it got really muddy and nasty in there, I figured, well, I'll move them up to a clean spot. So I hooked onto it with a chain, and I went to pull, and I went really slow to begin with, but them pigs, their feet were down in between that hog wire netting, and like I said, it's like a checkerboard. It's a fence, basically, laying on the ground, and when I'd pull it, that wire would be hitting their feet, and they'd be dancing all over the place. Pretty soon they jumped over onto that plywood, and no big deal. They figured that out right away, that if they stood on the plywood, then I could move the pen. And after the second, maybe third time of moving it, they'd see me hook onto it with a chain. They'd run over and stand on that plywood, so it was easy to do. And we had this stuff called black hembane. It's a weed that grows here in Idaho, and